All right. I read about in some national publication, this company in New York City did a class about how to spot fake news, and it made me want to share that because it's definitely a big problem. I call this misinformation, but you've probably heard the term fake news more often. I'm going to start my screen share. Can everyone see that title page? It's got Abraham Lincoln on it. All right. So obviously this is a fake picture, but this sort of thing gets cited often on social media as a real source. By the end of this class, you'll be able to see what's wrong with this picture, other than the obvious. What was y'all's interest in taking this class? And why have you heard the term? Where have you heard the term? Have you ever experienced or encountered fake news, and how would you define it? Does anyone want to answer that?
Oh, why I attend? Because I know there is a lot on internet that is not reliable, and quite enough that is quite harmful. And we hear fake news term all over the place currently. Everyone accusing everyone else of disseminating it.
Yeah.
Now, the problem also is that something that might not be true in one set of circumstances might be true in another. So it requires skills to really understand it.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm after.
That's good. Anyone else? All right. Yeah. Y'all know this, obviously, but there's nothing about old age that makes seniors more gullible. But in general, seniors aren't as familiar with newer technology, so that's why they're kind of a more vulnerable population. So I want you to be able to weed through the differences online. Telephone and email scammers are usually money-driven. They're sneaky and informed. We've had people come to Carnes and talk about how to avoid and find and spot scammers. Like, don't answer numbers you don't know, don't give personal information out. Bill collectors and the Social Security Department and other real agencies won't contact you over the phone. Check the letterheads, signatures, return addresses, and other identification on emails to know whether it's real. And if someone claims to be a relative, call someone who could confirm that. There's as many ways to avoid getting scammed as there are ways to scam. So misinformation or fake news is another type of scamming. It's less money motivated and more trying to get people to think or be politically aligned with them. That's what I've seen anyway. It's spread as purposeful disinformation. It's based on lies or half-truths, and you can identify it. These are some of the headlines from the 2016 election. These are all fake things, but you can see how much people engage with it online. The number's hiding, but it was over 900,000 people shared this headline in some way about the Pope endorsing Trump. He did not endorse either. Lots of stuff about Clinton. So it's just a really big problem.
So how do you know it's fake though, Scott?
Well, we'll get into
Is there
that.
something on here that shows us?
On this chart,
Yeah.
no, this chart came from an analysis of fake news. So we'll be able to see later, like if you came across that headline about the Pope, there's ways to read into that headline or that article and see why it's
okay.
But this chart just shows us what fake news stories have been really circulated.
Okay.
Does anyone have other questions so far? All right. Clickbait is eye-catching headlines to draw your interest. The goal is to keep you on the website so you can see more ads and the host website gets more viewership. The photos at the bottom have similar headlines to what you'd see on the National Enquirer. They're pretty ridiculous. They're there for shock value. They have misleading terminology and can be personalized based on your location. So there's this picture about a cave. It says Knoxville because it knows I'm in Knoxville. But that cave probably is not in Knoxville. So here's an example of clickbait. You might have seen it, but here's a Channel 8 website. Just gonna scroll all the way down. Usually clickbait's at the bottom, and it's just stuff like this. Conspiracies about the pyramids, stuff about the Titanic, movie bloopers. It's on the main page, but it's stupid stuff. Just to
And it says that it's sponsored too. That's probably a clue.
Yeah. Yeah, he's sponsored. So those are all just a complete waste of time.
Is it just waste of time, or is it also, can it also have viruses and other dangers?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, computer viruses.
Probably. Sometimes it'll take you to a really long PowerPoint. It'll say like these 30 photos people won't comprehend today. It's going to be 30 or plus more pages of, and do one of those photos each page. So it's just going to take you, waste your time, be on there forever doing nothing. It could have viruses because they're kind of sketchy websites. They're not real. Yeah, that's a good point, Leah. Fake news spreads 6 times faster than real facts on Twitter because people retweet false information. False news stories are 70% more retweeted than real ones. There's bias in everything, but whether you watch CNN or Fox News, you can know the source. One of the ways to know whether something's fake is if there's citations. It's less likely that something with citations is working without evidence. They want to prove their credibility, so they use who they've referenced to learn and prove the facts that they have in their thesis. Social media platforms' intention is to get people staying online, kind of like the clickbait. The advertisements, recommended videos, friends, pages, locations, and likes are contributing factors to algorithms on the computer coding that make you want to stay online and interacting. So they can say they want you to be engaged. They want to give you more personalized stuff, but really they want you to enjoy being on there more. So you'll see their ads and just spend more time on their website. But it's kind of in the name of personalization and convenience for you. Confirmation bias is just being surrounded with what you already agree with. And as you do more likes on certain things and engage with certain things, even if you comment your dislike on a video, the algorithms and the computer coding just knows that you commented on a video and that's probably something you want to see more of. So does that all make sense? Like April mentioned with the sponsored content, native advertising, it looks legitimate. It's on reputable websites. They can be like opinion pieces, editorials, sponsored content, press releases, and information from advocacy organizations and think tanks. I'll show you an example of that. Or on Channel 10 News, and you're scrolling through, and earlier today it said it. There's some more clickbait. There it is. It says advertisement here. Do y'all see that? But it looks like, and this is an ad, an advertisement, but it looks the same format as other articles on the WBIR website. So they kind of just get paid to seamlessly put in ads, but it's not officially by WBIR, so it's not necessarily legitimate. Anything else? Any questions there? All right, maybe I'm a good teacher. Next slide are deep fakes. These are video or audio clips depicting someone doing something they're not doing. They can be fun. They use them on Instagram and Snapchat to change the way your face looks. But they can also be used for bad purposes. They can put celebrity faces on porn or make political leaders say things that they did. So here's an example of that.
We're entering an era in which our enemies can make it look like anyone is saying anything at any point in time, even if they would never say those things. So, for instance, they could have me say things like, I don't know, Killmonger was right, or Ben Carson is in the sunken place, or how about this? Simply, President Trump is a total. Now, you see, I would never say these things, at least not in a public address, but someone else would. Someone like Jordan Peele. This is a dangerous time. Moving forward, we need to be more vigilant with what we trust from the internet. That's a time when we need to rely on trusted news sources. It may sound basic, but how we move forward in the age of information is going to be the difference between whether we survive or.
Example, more clean is, but it's unsettling. But a guy from the Parks and Recreation show on Full House. So that's strange and unsettling, but Congress is looking into it in different ways. Obviously, it's dangerous. It might be, the panic might be more of the danger than the actual technology, but it's still an issue. So fake news is a really pervasive problem, especially online. Human nature wants us to be correct, even at the cost of reality. Facebook and Twitter have CEOs with different opinions on how to handle what's on their website. There's a balance with the First Amendment, with people wanting to have their free right of speech. But then if the government were to ban all fake news, they'd probably end up banning credible things as well. So here's some things to look at and consider as you're looking at anything online. Don't just read the headline. Don't share it just based on the headline. Headlines are supposed to grab your attention and they oversimplify an issue. Make sure you read the article to know what it's saying. Consider the source. Like I said, Fox is right-leaning, CNN is left-leaning, so there's bias there. They're still attempting to give you the news. So there's some reputation there and credibility. There's also, you want to look at the grammar and spelling of an article to make sure, to somebody that's kind of illiterate might not be putting forward true stuff. URLs as well, the website names, if they look weird or have extra, not the super long ones, that's sometimes correct, but if like sometimes I think there's a website called google.com, but it's Googel instead of LE. So that's kind of an example where it looks right at first, but it's not. I don't know if that's a bad website or not, but that's just an example. Do your own research. In my research for this class, there is a lady that works at New York Magazine, and she said they have to find at least 3 other corroborating or reports on the story they're researching to kind of get a good handle on what's true out of what they're reading. So that's kind of just a good indicator if you want to look at other people who are telling the same story. Look at the dates. Like, if y'all didn't know, coronavirus has been around a long time, but COVID-19 is unique. So just make sure that the dates are up to date, most accurate information. Like I said, the citations are there to prove that what they're saying is credible. So read the citations for yourself. Especially before you post, slow down, recognize that you have bias in what you want to share, and remember that relationships in person, but online too, are more important than being correct. You can learn from everybody. I'll show you how to report fake news. And then also, instead of surrounding yourself with what you already agree with, go to the other websites. Like if you're a big Fox fan, read CNN or MSNBC to learn what the other side's perspective on it is. Do y'all have questions there?
Did I understand correctly that you will show us how to report fake news?
Yeah.
All right.
Right. Any other questions? Okay. This is how you report on Facebook. Usually somebody will post something and there will be an ellipses on the top right. And these are your options from that. You click report post, and then you say, why do you want to report it? What's wrong with it? Sometimes you hear on the news, Facebook, somebody like killed themselves or something severe happened on a Facebook live stream. And Facebook is really quick to pull that stuff down so that it doesn't get shared more. But if you report more innocuous stuff like this status, you probably won't hear back from Facebook. But it can't hurt to report things like that. Then sometimes ads will show up, and it could just take up space or be inappropriate or be fake news. And for this ad, I just click the X and report the ad, said why I wanted to report it, and then that was the resulting page. So it doesn't necessarily get rid of it on your page, but especially with reporting ads, it kind of just personalizes the ads to what you want to see. Any questions there? All right. Fact-checking websites exist to help us with fake news. Some of these ones are really, or all these ones are great. Snopes, PolitiFact, Fact Check, Open Secrets, NewsGuard, AFP, and World Health Organization's Mythbusters. You go to their websites, there's usually an About Us page at the top or the bottom, and it shows how they fact check. They're all done by people, so there's gonna still be a certain amount of bias, but they do well to give you the most accurate information. I'll show you an example. So this is talking about Hunter Biden's laptop. It'll give you the background. Let's see. So you kind of just read through that to know whether it's the full story there. Here's another example. To verify something, sometimes it'll show like this: true, false, or half true, half false, depending on what the article is. But that's how Snopes does it. You don't have to, these are all free. You don't have to sign up unless you want to get updates from them. NewsGuard is a, what do they call it? An application, I think, that you can add to your web browser, your internet, and it'll show you the credibility of a website rather than an individual article. It'll have some symbol indicating how much bias, or rather they're really interested in giving you the news. It'll give you a different symbol with satire websites. So that's a pretty handy quick reference. I think it's $3 a month, but that's helpful. The Onion is something you might come across, and some of these titles sound real, like that maybe, but the Onion specifically is all satire, and it's just mocking to make light of the situation or just humor people. The intention isn't to mislead you, it's just to laugh at what's going on. All right, so we're going to go on the Knox News website, and I'll show you an example of these. Hopefully you can help me through them. Find an opinion piece, and remember, an opinion piece is not meant to be fact or a true resource. It's just an opinion. So we can go, I know that an opinion piece would probably be in the opinion page. So under the columnists. So that's not something, I mean, maybe if they're an expert in a field, that's something you could use as a source, but they're not there to report what's going on. Like, this isn't talking about Judge Barrett's hearing, it's talking about why they disagree or agree with her philosophy. Sponsored content. That would look like these subscriber ones with the blue. And also the native advertising would look like kind of like that, I guess. And then there's clickbait down there. All right, so on the left, one of my friends on Facebook shared this. Can y'all think of what's wrong with it based on what I've taught you about fake news?
He's got a cell phone.
Yeah, we can do the Lincoln one. So that's kind of an example of a deep fake, because obviously Lincoln didn't have a phone. So they added that photo. Anything else? Maybe on the left, that quote.
Are you talking about that post? I mean, that's all
Yeah,
racist. I guess they're questioning racism. I don't.
Yeah, yeah. He posted this around the time that people wanted to cancel Aunt Jemima syrup. But you can see the grammar, the punctuation is terrible. There's no credibility or source. He's saying that since Aunt Jemima is racist, which we found out it wasn't, he just trying to cause trouble with all this other stuff that is somewhat related to offensive terms, I guess. With Lincoln, obviously he didn't say that quote, but sometimes people will post a picture of a celebrity or somebody well-known and a quote next to it. And sometimes I've even seen they don't say their name at the bottom, and you can search the quote on that picture to see if they really said it. So the assumption is there, if they didn't have Lincoln's name there, the assumption they'd want you to think is that the quote is from him, but they didn't specifically cite him. So it's kind of just left up to inference to lead you astray. So when you see a picture with somebody's quote, just Google that quote to see really where it really came from. If you got a Zoom invitation from me, I'll send you this PowerPoint and another cheat sheet, and then you can do this practice on your own thing I gave. If not, then email me and or put your name in the chat box and I'll email it to you. Hopefully you all trusted me this whole time and believe what I said, but if not, here's my bibliography. This is the stuff that proves everything I said is right.